Hello and welcome back to another video on the F1 Journal, and today's video we are looking at the FIA. Now I think it's fair to say the FIA have come under a lot of scrutiny in the last few weeks with some of the decisions they've made or lack of decisions they've made, and yeah, just multiple instances like that. So I thought I'd just run through some of the decisions they've made in the FIA recently and why I just disagree with them and think it's wrong. So obviously we're going to start off with the Brazil incident. Yeah, Hamilton's disqualification, obviously it's fair enough. The car was deemed illegal through the test. It should be a disqualification. But for me, the thing that I didn't get is it leaving it to 2 hours before the sprint race, and that's been a common theme recently. So I'll just go through all of that now. Yeah, just the amount of time it's been taken to give penalties. Like Hamilton's protest, it's a right to review, and it took nearly a day. It's just ridiculous. Verstappen's penalty on Sunday, it took until 2 hours before the race. Same for Bottas and Sainz. Yeah, there's just so many instances of it just taking ridiculously long. And yeah, moving on to another incident, and Hamilton and Verstappen's incident at the Brazilian Quick GP. And yeah, for me, I just don't understand how Verstappen wasn't penalised for this. If you can just do that, I mean, for me, you could see how much they turned the steering wheel just more and more, and he knew he wasn't going off track. For me, Verstappen had no intention of keeping Hamilton on the road there, and that was just a slam dunk penalty. If Hamilton can't go around the outside without knowing he's going to get pushed off the track, then yeah, you might as well just ban overtaking around the outside. It just makes no sense. And then the right of review, I mean, yeah, it wasn't even investigated in the first place, which is just ridiculous. And for me, Mercedes, they clearly had evidence, the new camera angles, new telemetry and what have you. There's clear evidence that that should have been changed around, but in the end it just wasn't. And yeah, it just made very little sense to me how that wasn't even investigated at the very least, and yeah, why the right of review was just chucked out when they did have the clear evidence that could have been useful to the stewards. It just made no sense to me. So yeah, that just rounds up my thoughts just from the Brazilian Grand Prix, and obviously it continued into Qatar GP with the ridiculously long waits, and yeah, it was even just shown just hours before the race when there was confusion going onto the grid over who would be starting ahead, Sainz or Bottas, and that just really sums it up from the FIA, because recently they just have been a shambolic organisation, and you can't really put it any other way, to be honest. Really, Paul, I don't want to give Michael Massey a fair chance because he's had a long time in the job. He's had a short time in the job relatively compared to Charlie Whiting, and obviously it's a massively high pressure job, but I really wonder if he is up to it at some point. It's just some of the decisions that are made are just really weird. And in terms of stewarding, maybe you should just have the same stewards going around every race, because you had Hamilton saying the rules aren't clear, it depends on the stewards and all of that. So yeah, that just makes little sense to me. How can you have different rules for different races and the drivers don't know which one's which? It just seems like absolute madness. So you just need the same stewards for every race, and yeah, the FIA just really needs to get it under control, because to be honest, they have been an utter shit show recently. Anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. To like, share, subscribe, leave any thoughts, comments down below, and follow on Twitter and Instagram for me for daily F1 news, and subscribe to the channel on the screen right now, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace!